There we go. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I am Michelle Morris from Consolidated Planning Group. Everybody here, since we're in webinar mode, you're muted and your cameras are off, so I cannot hear you or see you. And that helps cut down on a lot of the noise and stuff. But if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat box. That's the easiest way for me to be able to see your questions and present the information. And I love answering questions. So feel free to put any questions or comments in the chat. Yes, everybody is automatically muted. I'm really glad you love the webinars. So the other thing I want to let you know is that we do record all of our webinars and we put them on our YouTube channel. So after the webinar is over today, you're going to receive a link for that YouTube video, and we're also going to send you the slides. So as we go through the presentation, if there are any links, then when you receive the slides later on, they will be clickable. And hopefully you'll let me know if any of my links are broken so I can fix those later. But again, I am Michelle Morris from Consolidated Planning Group. I'm so glad you're here. This webinar is one of my favorites. It presents a lot of information, kind of at a high level and at a quick pace. So as we go through this is one that you might want to watch 2 or 3 times to make sure you get everything. But I know that you are going to get some very, very helpful takeaways today. So Consolidated Planning Group, sometimes we go by CPG. CPG is a financial advisory firm. We are located just outside of Houston in Sugar Land, Texas, and we've been doing this for about 30 years. Now, we have decided that our business niche, I guess, the families that we support are going to be families like ours, families with special needs loved ones. The owner of our company has 4 kids and 2 of them have disabilities. So that's why we do this. And almost all of the clients that we serve have a loved one with some kind of intellectual or developmental disability. So we have all of this experience with life insurance and investments, securities, financial planning, and advising. We are members of the Academy of Special Needs Planners. We are also nationally certified Social Security advisors, and I am a chartered special needs consultant through the American College of Financial Services. So we really take this very seriously, and we are truly experts in this area. Not only have we studied it and taken the time to do all of the research and gather our resources, but we're one of very few financial planning firms in the United States that focuses on special needs. You know, I think there's over, the last time I looked, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are over 263,000 financial advisors in the United States. But, sorry, fewer than 200 of those financial advisors, that's less than 0.1%. Fewer than 200 out of those 263,000 financial advisors focuses on special needs planning like we do. It gets me all choked up. We help families with things like protection plans and lifetime care plans. We help with transition planning, ABLE accounts, and we're here to educate and to advocate for you. So I really appreciate you joining me for today's webinar. First of all, let's jump right in. Let's talk about 2 very important different programs. Now, the government loves to confuse us, right? And make things sound the same or give them 14 different names for the same thing. So I just want to start by clarifying the differences between SSDI and SSI. So SSDI is the Social Security Disability Insurance. It comes through the Disability Trust Fund. And it is an insurance that workers earn by paying into Social Security. So all of these wages from your paycheck that are going into Social Security, that is what pays for SSDI benefits. And if you become disabled, you can turn on SSDI benefits for yourself. But there's also a part of that program that because your child might not be able to work for themselves because of that disability, they allow your child to draw from your Social Security record and get benefits from your record. So when you are in your late 60s and you turn on your Social Security retirement benefits, your disabled child will be able to draw a benefit from your record. And we're going to talk about how much that is. So that's what SSDI is. Sometimes we call that childhood disability benefits, CDB. Sometimes we call it DAC, disabled adult child benefits. But it is a totally different program from SSI. SSI is supplemental security income. It comes from the General Tax Revenue Fund, and it is a needs-based program for poor people, really. So you have to have very, very limited income and resources to be able to get SSI. That's why most kids don't qualify for SSI until they turn 18, because when your child is a minor, they're going to look at the parent's income and assets, not the child's. So that asset limit is $2,000. So if you have more than $2,000, and there's a limit, one house, one car, and making a very low amount each month, most parents have to, you have to have more than $2,000. So most kids under age 18 don't qualify for these benefits. But when your child turns 18, they're going to look at the child's income and assets and not the parents. So at that point, generally, your child should be able to get SSI. So here's how the timeline should look in an ideal world. When your child gets diagnosed, the very first thing that you want to do is get them on the waiting list for the waiver programs. If your child is not on the waiting list for waiver programs, you need to do that as soon as you get off of this webinar, as soon as you can. You're going to call your local intellectual and developmental disability authority, your LIDA, to get on the waiting list, or you can go to yourtexasbenefits.com. We'll get into more of that. So as soon as you know that there's trouble brewing, get on the waiting list for those waivers, because those waiver programs here in Texas can have a 20-year wait list. Now, they should be trucking along just fine, and you probably, like I said, won't qualify for SSI until your child turns 18. The day after they turn 18, you can apply for their SSI benefits. SSI does come along with Medicaid, so your child will get Medicaid when they turn 18. Then later on, when you are in your late 60s and you turn on your retirement benefits, your child will switch from SSI over to SSDI and be drawing benefits off of your record. At that time, when they switch from SSI to SSDI, of course, the amount of money will go up. And once they're receiving that money for 2 years, they will be eligible for Medicare. And at that point, you don't lose Medicaid. You get to keep it, and your child will have both Medicaid and Medicare and a benefit from your work record that they're going to get for the rest of their life. So in order to get SSDI or SSI, you have to have a physical or mental impairment. You have to have a disability. This impairment has to be something that's going to last at least 12 months or just never go away or result in death. They do take into consideration your age, your education, whether or not you're in school, and prior work activities. So if your child has worked, I think it's over 9 months earning substantial gainful activity, then they're not going to be able to get SSI and SSDI. So it does require an inability to perform substantial work activity. What does that mean? Well, that means that your child earns more than $1,620 a month. So your child is allowed to work, but if they make more than $1,620 a month, their SSI benefit will be turned off. Okay. So for 2025, the individual can get $967 a month for SSI. If it's a married couple and both parties are disabled, you would think that they would get 967 times 2, but that's not the case. There is a little bit of a marriage penalty there, I guess you could say, because if you're a married couple where both of the individuals have a disability, you only get $1,450 a month. So I see a question in the chat box. I just want to grab this real quick. Would being on the Texas Home Living Waiver affect SSI payments? And do we have to let SSI know that the child is on a waiver? No, your waiver programs will not affect SSI benefits. Now, if the waiver program is like giving you cash and you put that cash into your child's bank account and their bank account goes above $2,000, then you might have trouble, because that's one of the rules, is that you cannot have more than $2,000 in your child's bank account. Okay, so one of the other rules of SSI, besides the income limit and the asset limit, is that your child has to be deemed disabled under the eyes of Social Security. And how do they do that? What are the rules for that? Well, the Blue Book will answer that question for you. So if you click that link, you can go to the Social Security Blue Book and you look up any diagnosis that your child has, and it will tell you exactly what they're looking for to deem your child as having a disability. So perhaps you'll look up autism and it'll say, your child has to have this, this, and this. And then maybe you want to check your child's medical records and make sure that it lists out that your child has this, this, and this that goes along with their autism. Like for example, for IDD, intellectual disabilities, they might say that the child has to have an IQ below 70, or it has to be below 75 with other diagnoses. So you're going to want to make sure that you have proof somewhere, whether it be from school records or the doctor's records, that your child's IQ is within the range that they're looking for. You can also go to the Social Security website by clicking this link down here to get more questions answered about Social Security benefits. So when your child turns 18, not a day before, they'll just deny you. But as soon as they turn 18, you can apply for their SSI benefits. Now, you can go to the office, you can call the office, or you can start your application online. Sometimes even if you start your application online, they'll make you go in eventually. But the cool thing is that when you start your online application, even if it takes them like 9 months to get everything done, which it very well could, they're going to back pay you to the date that you started that application. So I would say go ahead and start online and then determine if you need to go in at a later date. You can do that. You're going to want to make sure that you have proof that your child has a disability that started before they turned age 22. And you might want to gather up their medical history, because they're going to ask for your child's doctor's contact info, name, address, phone number. So you might want to have that before you start this process. They're going to want a list of your child's diagnoses, a list of their medications, If your child is working, they will want to see pay stubs from your child's workplace. And they're also going to want to see bank statements for 3 months if your child has a bank account. Now, when you start getting these SSI payments, you're going to want your child to have their own bank account for the money to go into. Your name can be on it. Just make sure that you keep your money out of it. Make sure it's only your child's money. Even if the account has your name on it, that's okay. But you're going to want somewhere for those SSI payments to go. And that's the account, that bank account that your child has, cannot go above $2,000. So when you apply for your SSI benefits, it can take up to 6 months. And sometimes it takes even longer for them to get back to you about your benefits. I've been hearing that a lot of people, they're just denying up front, and then if you don't appeal, then, they don't have to pay you. But if you appeal, then you'll be able to get your benefits. So keep an eye on your mail. If you get a letter from the Social Security Administration, you need to open that mail and pay attention to it and make sure if there are any deadlines that you meet those deadlines. You also want to check the top left-hand corner of any mail they send you and see if it says SSI, Supplemental Security Income, or does it say SSDI? Because sometimes when you apply for SSI, they're actually filling out an application for both SSDI and SSI. And as we've talked about before, unless you turn on your Social Security benefits, your child won't get SSDI yet, and that's good. We want to do these things in the right order, because if you skip this step where you get SSI and Medicaid, you could lock your child out of getting Medicaid ever. And you definitely want that because you want to stay eligible for Medicaid so that they can get the waiver programs. So it's all very nuanced, and there are certain tricks. So anyway, let's get back to your file. What happens to your file when you apply for SSI? Your local office is going to collect all of your records and information and send it to the Disability Determination Services. This is an office in Austin. And they're going to look through your file and make sure that your child qualifies and that all the medical history is there. You can call DDS and find out, if they've been given your file, if it's been assigned, who is working on your information. I see another question. Which form do we use to raise rent? Or do we have to update SSA that rent has been raised? Can you please share a link for Community First Choice? Okay, so after you start getting your SSI payments, or your child starts getting their SSI payments, you're going to want to tell them that your child is paying rent. We have a form that we use. It's really not complicated. It's like a few sentences that basically says, we are charging our child room and board to live at our house. $500 is usually plenty to tell them. And then they're going to give you more money for your child when they see that they're spending some of their SSI money on paying rent. So you're going to take that $500 from your child's bank account each month, put it into your bank account, and then from there you can do whatever you want with it. You can spend it on your child. You could spend it really truly on rent and groceries. You could put it into your child's ABLE account. It's truly yours, and it doesn't matter what you do with it after that. But you do want to show the paper trail of that rent payment moving from your child's account to your account. So, and yes, you can just let the Social Security office know that you're changing the rent amount. And yes, what we're going to talk about Community First Choice. So if your child has been working and they already have $2,000 or more in their bank account, and you haven't applied for any benefits yet, there are some things you can do. You can take some of it from your child and charge them like back rent. to bring that amount down. You can move that money into an ABLE account for your child, which we are going to talk about and we can open up for you. Or you can spend it down, that's an option too. Maybe your child needs a new laptop or computer or something. So there is one thing that might make the process a little faster when you're applying for SSI, and that is if your child has a presumptive disability. They have a list, they call it the compassionate allowances, and these are things that the determination on the disability can be made much quicker if you have one of these presumptive disabilities. And therefore, you might start getting your payments quicker. And your local office can actually make the call rather than waiting for the disability determination services to do it all. And those presumptive disabilities are things like Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, total deafness, or total blindness. If they're confined to a bed, if they've had a stroke and have continued marked difficulty walking or using their hands or arms, if they have an intellectual disability or neurodevelopmental impairment that they cannot do their own self-care activities. Those kinds of things are presumptive disabilities. And again, your application process should be a little faster. So what happens if my child is working and getting SSI benefits because they're not making the full $1,620 a month? Maybe they're making only $1,200 a month. That's the number we used for this math equation to show you how it works. So let's assume your child is making $1,200 gross earnings a month at work. First of all, they're going to take off $85 in general exclusions. They're just going to ignore $85 of it. That brings us down to $1,115. You divide that number in half and you get $557.50. From there, you subtract that number from the full amount that you can get from Social Security for SSI, which is $967 this year. So the $967 minus your $557.50 leaves you with a benefit payable of $409.50 in SSI benefits. And you will also still get Medicaid. Now, if your child is working and in school, regularly attending school, they can make a little bit more money and not have it affect them as much. That's called the student earned income exclusion. It's a little bit complicated, but I'll just say you do have to ask for it. They're not going to automatically know, oh, my child is still in school and she's working, she's going to automatically get this benefit. No, you have to ask for it. And it's only if they're under age 22, regularly attending school. And, it does regularly attending school means 8 hours a week if they're in college or at a university, 12 hours a week for grades 7 through 12, or if they're in like a training program or, something like that. If you're homeschooling, that counts too. That counts as being in school. So you'll call your Social Security Administration and ask them about the earned income, student earned income exclusion. Okay, no more questions yet. Okay, so the Red Book, you can go here and you can look at all of the rules and regulations surrounding work and Social Security. You learn about the employment-related provisions of the programs, and then educators, advocates, professionals, and counselors can use this book to help them understand the rules around working. Okay, child support. So we know that the divorce rate in the United States is high. And when you have a child with a disability, that divorce rate gets really high. About 80% we've heard. So if your child is going to get child support beyond age 18 due to their disability, that money needs to be directed to a first party special needs trust. If your child is getting child support after age 18, that becomes your child's money, and that would be counted as income and count against them in the eyes of Social Security. So if you direct that money to go into a first party special needs trust, it will protect the money. It will not be counted against them for their benefits. And you can make sure that, the other parent, your ex-spouse, is not using that money. It is truly only able to be used for your child. So it's a great decision to make. And it's better if you do this up front in your divorce decree, but of course you can go back and alter your divorce decree to include this situation. So I see a question. Adrian wants to know, how long should it take for us to complete the SSI application and submit it? To do that, okay, so I've heard some people say it's really cumbersome and a lot of work, and I've heard other people say it's really not that big of a deal. And I have not filled out the SSI application myself yet. So if you in the chat box, if you've filled out that SSI application and you know how long it took you roughly, please answer Adrian's question. All right. Chase Bank said that they can't set up a rep payee account online. So how do we show a trail if the Social Security Administration audits us? If you get audited, and that is why I always suggest that your child's bank account be their main flow through. You'll have your ABLE account, maybe you'll have a special needs trust, but when you need money, extra money, bring it from your ABLE account into the child's bank account and spend it through there. Keep only your child's own money in that bank account. And then if you ever get audited and they want to know where your child's money is coming from and where it's going to, all you have to do is show them your bank transaction records. And they're going to see that that's how that works. Now, you probably have to go into the bank if you need a rep payee account. But it's not that difficult, and they should understand how to do it. Cheryl, I see your question, and I'm going to get to that here in a moment. So in order to be entitled to getting the SSDI benefit from your parents' record, you have to be 18 years of age or older. You still have to have a disability that started before age 22. Your parent has to be the insured worker and have worked. You cannot be married. That's the second place we have seen a kind of a disadvantage to individuals with disabilities who get married. And you cannot have performed substantial gainful activity in the past. So we're going to get to Cheryl's question now in the chat. If a parent receives SSDI or some kind of retirement benefit before the child turns 18, then when the child can get benefits if they're under age 18. We've had cases where one parent died before the child was 18. So children get a benefit if their parents pass away or turn on their Social Security and the children are minors. That has nothing to do with having a disability. So that is a different kind of benefit. Now, when your children turn 18, that benefit will stop because that benefit is based on them being minors. At that point, you can turn back on their SSDI as being an adult disabled person under a parent's record, but you don't want to do that yet. You want to make sure you get that step of getting SSI and Medicaid before you go back over to SSDI. I hope I'm making that clear, because again, if you skip the step of getting your SSI and Medicaid, you could lock your child out of Medicaid for the rest of their lives, and they would only be able to get Medicare. Whereas if you follow the steps in the correct order, then they will be dual eligible in the future for Medicaid and Medicare. So the way it works is that, like I said, when the parent turns on their own Social Security benefits, that retirement benefit, or if a parent passes away or becomes disabled, your child is going to be able to draw a benefit based on their disability. So if you turn on your retirement or become disabled, your child will get half of whatever your payment is. And then after they've been receiving that for 24 months is when they become eligible for Medicare. Now, when you pass away, your child's benefit is going to go from 50% up to 75%. And that's the amount that they'll get for the rest of their life. And there are cost of living, COLA is included. They do give benefits for that as well. Now, there is a family maximum. It's kind of really complicated to understand. But if you have more than just 2 or 3 people drawing off of the same record, you could run into a family maximum. So be aware of that, and we can help you navigate and understand that situation. So you really, really want to protect your children's benefits, because these benefits, SSI and SSDI, Medicaid and Medicare, are going to open the doors and make it way more affordable for you to be able to provide for your child for not just the rest of your life, but the rest of their life. You want to make sure that you keep your child's money in the correct buckets, so to speak, so that it doesn't count against them for SSI or Medicaid or any of that. You want to make sure that you do not set your child up as a beneficiary on anything. If you pass away and your life insurance, for example, goes straight to your child, that's going to automatically give them a large amount of money, and they will not qualify for benefits anymore. So what you need to do instead is create a special needs trust that the money will flow into when you pass away. And any money that you want to leave for your child, or if any family members, grandma and grandpa, aunts and uncles, they want to leave your child some money when they pass away, that is great. Just make sure that you're leaving that money to the special needs trust for the benefit of little Johnny, not straight to little Johnny. That's where the trouble comes in. And this would be a third-party special needs trust. You do have to have an attorney help you set that up, but it is very important that you do. So your child can have money in an ABLE account or in a special needs trust. Let's turn to talking about ABLE accounts now. So your child would be both the beneficiary and the account owner. Anyone can put money into the ABLE account. When you put money in, you don't get to do a tax deduction for that federally, but some states do let you take an income tax deduction for money that you put into the ABLE account. Of course, here in Texas, we don't have income taxes for the state, so they can't give you a deduction. But what happens is when you put that money in the ABLE account, that money goes to purchase mutual funds. And over time, as those mutual funds gain interest, that income is not taxed. So you get the benefit of growth that is not taxed, and you get the benefit of this money not counting against your child's benefits. So it's a really, really great program. Now, you do have to remember that for the ABLE account, when you apply for your ABLE account, or we do it for you, you do have to check a box and sign off saying that this individual has a disability that started before they turned 26 years old. If your child is beyond 26, don't panic, because at the end of this year, they're raising that number up to like 50 something. So you can just wait until next year to sign up for your ABLE account. You can only put in $19,000 this year. That limit is going to be whatever the annual gift tax exclusion is going to be the amount you can put into the ABLE account. So for this year, 19,000. You don't ever want your ABLE account to go above 100,000. That's the limit where Medicaid would say, oh, you guys have enough money. You don't need our help anymore. So don't let it go above 100,000. The other thing you need to know is that if your child is working, they can put a little bit more money into the ABLE account, depending on how much they're earning. They can put those earnings into the ABLE account up to $15,560 additional dollars. Again, any money that you use from the ABLE account for your child is acceptable. There's no penalties, there's no taxes. You can use the ABLE account for anything that will help your child achieve a better life experience. That's what ABLE stands for, achieving a better life experience. So you can use it for your child for anything that they need. There is one drawback to the ABLE account, and that is that if there's money left in the account after your child passes away, Medicaid can come back and claim reimbursement for funds that they have spent on your child. So either, let it be, it's fine. Medicaid can come back and claim some money, or just make sure that you keep the account balance a little bit low or use it up. Once your child is getting older, they should use it up. Those are the options. Again, the ABLE account can help you pay for housing, financial management, like what we do, transportation, vacations, car, computer, clothing, cash, anything that your child needs, you can use the ABLE account, and there is no penalty for your SSI or anything like that. Now, conversely, you do not want to use a special needs trust to pay for these things if your child is receiving SSI benefits still. So here's what we generally see. Remember that timeline we talked about. Your child turns 18, they're going to start getting their SSI, and they're going to use their ABLE account to make sure that their bank account doesn't go above 2,000 and to help them pay for anything that they need throughout their life. Later on in life, your child is going to switch from SSI to SSDI. At that point, it does not matter anymore if they use the special needs trust to pay for these items. So they can pay for rent and utilities and condo fees and homeowners insurance and all of that stuff with their special needs trust after they make that switch over to the SSDI. So at that point, I would recommend that you spend out the money from the ABLE account and close that and switch over to using money from the special needs trust. Now, again, you do need an attorney to set up a special needs trust, but there is no limit on how much money you can put in there. So that's where your life insurance is going to go. Your investment accounts can be left to the special needs trust. If grandma and grandpa want to leave an inheritance to your child, it can go to the special needs trust. There's no limit on how much. So we think that it's really important that you take this as your sign to start planning now. If you haven't done any planning yet for your child, or if you still have questions lingering, or if you've been putting it off, you really need to get started. And it doesn't matter how old or young your child is. It's never too early. And if your child is older, we're not going to laugh at you or put you in timeout for not having planned things. We're just going to start where we are and help you. Now, if we have a longer runway, we can get more speed and we can gather more interest in your investments and make small positive changes along the way. It's going to feel a little easier, but that's okay. If we have a shorter time period, we're still going to be able to help you. We want you to think ahead about, what's going to happen after high school. Do you want your child to graduate to the couch, or do you want to look for educational opportunities for them? Maybe that's not right for them. Maybe a vocational opportunity would be better. Maybe day programs and transition programs and summer camps. We can help you find all of those. And residential care. Residential care is going to be important in the future because you cannot take care of your child for the rest of their life, especially, if they outlive you. So once you become older and you are unable to chase after your loved one, um, a residential community might be great for them. So start touring those early and checking them out and seeing um, who they accept and where they're located and how much it costs, and start planning for that. And we always want to say, don't just assume that a sibling is going to be the best option for care for your child. Um, it seems like it makes a lot of sense, but it can breed resentment on both parties' sides. If a loving sibling who was my partner in crime and my best friend is now trying to step into a parental role, or a role with more authority, that could create some resentment for your individual with the disability. And also on the other side, the sibling who said, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll help out." Now they've got their own family and careers and their own issues and their own life, and they might feel a little bit of that, "Oh, I said I would do it, but now I really feel obligated and I don't know that I like this so much." So, just think long and hard about that before you assume that a sibling is going to be able or willing to take care of your child. Um, will we receive an email with these slides? Yes. Adrian, you will receive these slides in your email. Mary wants to know, can my child receive both Medicare and Medicaid if he gets a waiver program? Yes, your child can still, the waiver programs will not have any impact on any of that. Now, some other things to keep on your radar. Think about developing a comprehensive special needs care plan. Think about, or have us do it for you. This is one of the things that we do, is we kind of give you a roadmap to all of the benefits, both state and federal, the waiver programs, the ABLE account, the special needs trust, getting your legal matters lined up. All of that stuff should be part of your plan. And that's what we do for you. We tell you when to do things, how to do them, who you need to call, what forms you're going to need, all of that stuff. Future care cost estimate. So that is the period of time when you pass away, but your child is still living. And that section of their life is going to need to be paid for by somebody. If your child can't work or cannot take care of themselves, that somebody is going to have to be you. So we can help you think about, how much money does that take and how do we set that aside for our child without hurting their benefits? Yes, the waiver programs, we've talked about that. We've talked a lot about SSI and SSDI today, and hopefully now you understand the difference. ABLE accounts. We can set up an ABLE account for you. We use the one through the state of Virginia. There are ABLE accounts all across the country, probably 50 or so different plans. You do not have to use the ABLE program for the state that you live in, usually. Most of them are open to anybody. Very few of them say that you can only use it if you live in that state. So we use Virginia because it is through American Funds, which is a company that's been around for a very long time. They've got great customer service. They really know what they're doing with the ABLE accounts. Or if you want to check out all the other ABLE accounts across the country, you can Google that information. You can Google, like, what are the best ABLE accounts. Which state plans should I use? You could also go to a website. I can't remember exactly what it is right now, but if you just Google comparing state ABLE accounts or state ABLE account comparison, there is a website that you could get like 2 or 3 different states and choose from the drop down menu, and then it will show you a chart of those 3 states compared to each other, and you can get a better feel for which ABLE account might be best for you, and you can sign yourself up for that. In terms of beneficiary designations, I think I clarified that. Don't leave things to your child with a disability or any minor child, really. If your minor child gets left a whole chunk of money, it's going to be held for them in a trust until they turn 18, and then they're going to get this money. And I don't know about you and your children, but I know my child would, if he got that money even right now at age 21, he would probably spend it. He wouldn't be very frugal. He would have a new car. He would have, maybe a classic Mustang. He wouldn't be thinking about investing it and saving it for the future. So maybe a trust for any minor children would be best. Start touring those residential communities. Guardianship. If you're thinking about guardianship, again, an attorney will do that for you. It's kind of a big process. You have to actually go to court and have an attorney for yourself and an attorney for your child. But you can start that process when you're about within 6 months of your child's 18th birthday, because it does take a while. You can also consider alternatives to guardianship, like a power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, or supported decision-making agreements. And then again, think ahead about what's going to happen after high school. Now, this link will take you to our website where all of our upcoming events are listed. That's all the upcoming webinars for this month, I think. And you can sign up in advance. That way you'll get a reminder so that maybe you don't miss the webinar. But if you do miss the webinar, you'll automatically get that email afterwards that has the slides and the link to the video. So either way, you can pre-register for those webinars if you would like by clicking on this link. The other thing, here's our team. Again, we are a small independent firm located just outside of Houston. We've been doing this for over 30 years, and we work all across the country. As our clients, we started here in Houston and then grew throughout Texas. And then once in a while, we have clients who move out of Texas. So we've just started adding those states as well. There's 4 financial advisors. All of us work as a collaborative team on every single client that we have. So if you work with me, you're working with Allison and Jeff and Andy too. I love that we're independent. We're not what you would call a captive agent. That means an agent who can only work with one company, like a Charles Schwab or Mass Mutual or something like that. We're independent. We work for Consolidated Planning Group, and we are able to work with many large companies to better suit our clients' needs and give us the flexibility that our work really requires in this niche community that we have. I want you all to schedule a free consultation with me. I would love to meet with you. My husband, Andy, also does these consultations. So you can use the QR code, or you can call or email the office, or you can call and email me directly, putting my contact info in the chat box again. You can call or email me directly and I'll set up your free consultation. It's over Zoom, usually 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how much we're chit-chatting. But we want to answer any questions that you have. You get the opportunity to ask me pretty much anything that you want to know more information about. And then, after we get to know you a little bit and answer your questions and hear what's going on, we give you some advice based on the questionnaire that we send out before your meeting. And then we talk to you about, how our plans work, how we charge, what we do, all of that stuff, and see if it would be a good idea for us to move forward and work together. So let me get these last few questions in the chat. And if you have any more questions, we've still got 9 minutes. So feel free to send me that question. I see that a couple people aren't getting the emails after they register for the webinars. I'm really sorry about that. If you want to send me a quick email, I will make sure that I respond with the slides and the link to the webinar or to our YouTube channel. Of course, right here is also the YouTube channel link. And yeah, we need to make sure that you're getting all of the invitations to the webinars too. You should receive these slides. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Danielle. Danielle says that the online application for SSI takes about 30 to 45 minutes-ish. She said she did it a while ago, so she might not remember exactly, but that's about what it seemed. So that's good. Where do we go to set up ABLE accounts? If you want us to do it, we will. If you want to do it yourself, you absolutely can. How do I get a recorded copy of this webinar, Mary? They're all on our YouTube channel. So go to YouTube and or click the link, or I put the link in the chat box. Any of those things will help you. A couple people not getting those emails. That makes me sad. Okay, and let's talk about Medicaid a little bit. So when your child gets a waiver, they really need to make sure that they are Medicaid eligible. So even if they're working too much for SSI, if they're working less than the Medicaid limit and they still have less than the Medicaid limit in assets, then they'll still be able to get their waiver programs. And that's really important because some of those waiver programs can pay for housing, transportation, therapies, respite care, all kinds of stuff that's very beneficial. So you want to make sure you at least maintain the Medicare eligibility. So Medicaid, if you're working, you can earn $2,901. But you still need to have less than $2,000 in the bank account. And I'm talking about after your child turns 18. So when they get their SSI, they will automatically get Medicaid. Now, another way that your child can get Medicaid, if they're under age 18, maybe, let's say your child gets a waiver. Those come with Medicaid. And you have to be eligible for Medicaid to be able to get the waivers. So there are some waivers that have very short waiting lists, like MDCP, which is for medically fragile children, or DBMD, so that DBMD is deaf and blind and another diagnosis. Those have very short waiting lists. So if you get one of those two waivers, you'll get Medicaid. The other option would be the Medicaid buy-in program. But there are a lot of options out there. If you need help, again, feel free to contact us. I'm happy to help. It sounds like earning income. This is from William. Hi, William. I know you. It sounds like earning income can reduce the SSI monthly payment. Yes. At what point will the Social Security Administration just cut that off completely based on his income? That is the amount of $1,620 a month. So let's go back to that slide. That was way at the beginning. That is the substantial gainful amount is $1,620 a month that they can earn. And if they earn more than that, they're going to lose there it is. No, there it is. $1,620 a month. If your child is blind, they can earn $2,700 a month. If they earn more than that, then they will get no SSI benefit at all. Now they can still get Medicaid if they go above that monthly income limit, as long as their asset limit is still below $2,000. And the limit on income for Medicaid is 300% of this $967 number. So that is 2,901. And then to go along with that is this slide. If they're working, this is how you're going to figure out how much money they're going to get from their benefit, the SSI benefit. So if they're earning about $1,200, William, this is the way you would figure out how much money they're going to get, even if they're working. Can my child get Medicaid to help pay for medical expenses, even if I make too much money and they're under age 18? You know, Cheryl, there are so many different Medicaid programs and ways of getting Medicaid. And if they're under 18, yes, they're going to look at the parents' income and assets generally. But you know what? Try. The only thing they can do is say no. For the presumptive disability, should we still apply online? Yes, it's much easier to apply online. If they apply online and then they tell you, we want you to come in, then you can go in, you can make that appointment. But definitely, Jeanette, start online. And oh, William is adding to the question about working. Will they lose the benefit just for that month if they make too much money, or would they lose it permanently? William, if they make over that amount for 9 months, they're going to lose it forever. So there's a 9-month trial work period is what they call that. So they can earn that 1620 or over for 9 months. And then they would completely lose out on any further SSI or SSDI under your record. They would have to get it under their own work record at that point. Okay, any other questions about Medicaid or SSI or ABLE accounts or planning or anything like that? If you want to put it in the chat box, maybe you don't want to put your question out there for the whole world. Schedule your consultation. We're going to call you anyway and ask if you want to schedule. You can call me, like I said, you can use the QR code, you could call the office. We are truly here to help, and it is truly our goal to get your questions answered during that meeting. Okay. So you'll receive these slides and the link to our YouTube in an email after this. If you don't, please email me and I'll make sure that you get the information. And if there's anything ever that we can help you with, please just reach out and let us know. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a fantastic week. Oh, one more little thing. We are looking for testimonials for our website. So if any of you have worked with us, or maybe you want to tell us how the webinars have helped you, how we've helped you working with you, we would love to get more testimonials onto our website. So please go ahead and send those to me as well. I hope I get to hear from you soon, and you all have a fantastic, fantastic day. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.